And then like over 70% of the people that pass in Ohio have been in nursing homes. That's just. Of course, I think if you had the sniffles, you were an Ohio COVID person instantly.
Right.
Whether you died of a heart attack.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I'll get it.
What the heck? There we go. Hey, how we all doing?
Here. Hi, Lou. Can you?
I could hear you for a moment there. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Good deal. Morning, Ron.
Morning, Lou. Hey, Lou, on the agenda, I've already mentioned to Marie and Courtney, and I guess Laura already picked it up. We approved Marie's raise back at the January 21st meeting.
I thought that was the case too. So that one we can delete off the agenda.
Well, and I guess that Courtney first said, well, she was concerned about the idea that we didn't have the 1% noted back in January. Well, we can't rescind the original motion because that motion had Laura's raise in it. It was all one big thing.
Right.
And I think we're good with just taking it off the agenda.
If we,
we'll
if we take it off the agenda, then she still is noted as 1%.
Well, I don't know how you really want to do it. We can't approve it a second time.
Right. Wonder if we could say we amend a former resolution to indicate the 1%.
Something to that effect.
Yeah, let's do that. What I'll do is make it a separate item.
Okay.
Do you need an addendum?
I saw it on the phone.
Or do you need an addendum?
No, I got it. I also saved it to the share. I just saw that. Okay.
Do you want an agenda?
Thank you.
Very sad. I made my coffee this morning and I left it on the counter.
Oh. I would have turned around and been late. I don't care.
I was in the parking lot and I was like, I reached for a cup. I was like, oh, that was Friday's cup.
Oh, no. That's not, yeah.
It was empty, but. Yeah, okay. I'm very stingy with my coffee. I'm picky. I'm liking like an iced coffee lately, so that's another issue.
That's all.
I haven't heard from Mary if she was gonna be coming in or not.
She was at the Kirsten meeting last week
Okay.
in person. It was just the two of us that attended.
She's been getting some quality bonding time.
She wears a mask, but she has her nose exposed.
I know.
It's all good. Lou's gonna amend it. He's gonna have the agenda, he's gonna pull Marie's raise off
Okay.
and then have it such that we have a new thing for amending, just to set the rate from the January approval.
Okay, here comes Mary. Where would you like me to be?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's Courtney.
Yeah, Courtney, you read that. Hey Lou.
Hi, how we doing?
Good, how are you?
All right.
How you doing, James?
Did you see any of the graduations on YouTube, Lou?
Yeah, very
What-
nice.
I thought they did a really nice job.
Of the kids going up
North and
individually?
Central,
Yeah,
I watched both of them.
I think so too.
Up and down 256 were really nice.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah, Vince said they were a little difficult putting up. He ended up having to put up a lot of them.
It always seems like a good idea until you have to do it.
Well, they ran out, they were trying to do every other one, Central North. Well, somebody had the wrong stack, so then we had a big long thing of Central. And he said, it was getting dark and we couldn't read and,
They were out of alphabetical order too.
oh yeah,
I was
they were
like-
horribly out of
I
alphabetical order.
know. We were driving down, but it was nice. It was kind of sad to see.
I kept telling him, the thought was,
Yeah, no, it was very nice.
Did you tap on that link to look at the Franklin B. Walter
yes,
Award? So that was orchestrated with everybody sitting
I saw
in
that
their
too.
respective places.
okay,
So to plan and organize that was,
yeah, nightmare.
and the nice thing is that those kids will get what other kids didn't get, which is it's captured on YouTube. Because normally
Yeah.
that's an event where, you go, you do it, whatever. We do give, that little scholarship. So I've reached out to Chad a couple of times now and said, are you going to do an award ceremony for kids, or how would you like us to do that? I'm happy to virtually present that, whatever. I've not heard back, so. Does anybody else want a water?
No,
No. Right, okay, everybody's really.
Oh,
So Gary.
Yeah.
Gary.
Gary was on the phone, was when they were on the other meeting.
Okay, I'm gonna ask him to try again.
Yeah,
Just
you want-
mixing up our Zoom links. I did create one and then I rescinded it.
He did drive over to the office so he could do it.
Yeah, that's what he told me. Make
I just
sure.
looked on Gary and Charlie.
I was reading something last night.
Has anybody heard from Charlotte?
I mean, Charlotte replied yesterday that she got the addendum, so she's.
That I was in the family room and I saw these lights and I thought there was a fire in my living room. I went tearing upstairs and it was all these fire trucks outside, all this stuff. They took somebody by squad from across the street from my house,
Oh.
but none of us, it was dark and there's no lights out there in the night, so you don't know what's going. So then I got to thinking, the guy helped me the other day. I was cleaning my driveway up of all those maple things. We had 3 garbage bags full. It was just in my driveway. And he came over and was helping. And I thought, oh my God, hope the guy doesn't have a virus. And I had a mask on for a while, but then I got to sweating and it ran down. So then and he never did. So then you sat there thinking, well, I wonder who they took. What they took them for.
I got to watch so I live on the Sycamore Creek Elementary School.
Yeah.
Street. And unbeknownst to us, we were just happened to be outside when the teachers did
Oh, and teachers did their thing.
their parade. It was so cool. But my girls were like, "What's happening?" happening? Why are there so many cars? But it was just, I thought it was really sweet.
They had a nice parade through Huntington, the kids that graduated from North.
Yeah.
But it scared us again because the fire trucks started
Yeah,
up,
it was the fire
you know,
trucks.
and everybody was wondering, well, where's our fire? You know, and,
Yeah.
but I guess they didn't even turn their sirens or anything on, because I asked one of my other neighbors, I said, we have 2 fire trucks and a squad and
Oh, when you,
a chief's car here, and I didn't know it. And they said, we didn't either until I saw them take somebody out of their house.
Our other news in the room is we now know what Courtney's having,
They didn't even know.
which is very important.
Oh,
Did
you're
you know
pregnant.
Courtney was pregnant?
I didn't know she
Oh.
was, and I sat here with her the other day.
Congratulations.
She's like all popped out there.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, whatever you got on the other day, I never would have thought that.
Really? Because I think I was wearing a shirt very similar to this one.
And she was sitting right there, I mean.
You're October 2nd, is that right?
October 2nd.
October
Do
2nd.
we know what we're having?
We just
The
found out. We,
ultrasound
like
told me a
it's
boy,
us.
and I doubt it very highly, but
it's a pretty clear picture.
It's a very
It
clear
is.
photo.
So you have what, you have 2?
I have a boy and a girl already.
Okay,
Yeah. One turned 3 on the 2nd, one just turned 1 on the 24th.
And having one.
Her fourth one will be born next November.
Thanks.
She did.
Thanks, Laura.
No, we had, Courtney and I had a conversation about how this happens. So,
Yeah.
but I think she's gonna let me name the baby.
No.
No, I already picked the name.
Yours was outside the parameters.
No, I said Emmett.
Okay, well, she said Emmett too.
It was on my list
No,
too.
Emmett was, I said it first. That's in the text recordings.
This is it takes a village
Yeah.
to name a baby.
Be sure you like it, because these people are not gonna deal with all their lives.
Emmett's a good name.
Yeah, it's at the top of our list right now.
Oh, okay.
So what else has he decided that he likes out of the list?
No, we just like the middle name Dimitri.
Okay, Emmett Dimitri.
And Ron's like, why?
Why? Well,
No, that's all good.
My family's Russian, so.
That's.
Gary, you out there? I see Gary's square up,
Yeah.
but I don't know if Gary's on or not.
I was
He's
Talking
muted for some
earlier.
reason.
Looks like Mike's still off.
Yeah.
James doesn't have to work today, because he says on his paper he doesn't start until June 1st.
It's to keep him to stick around.
I
First.
my phone rang. I need to get a new phone, but I do not want to go.
You can do it all online.
Yep.
Just order a new one and then you should have everything.
Someone's trying to call me and it's not like even showing up on my phone. It was scary. Let's see what his problem is. He's having issues. Hello? Did you find this? It's do you know how, you don't know how to click it so it's on? Are the administrator, do you have him muted?
I do not.
He's muted on his end, looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says he's unmuting it and it's not unmuting. Do you wanna come over? We'll put a chair in the hallway. You can sit outside or I'll sit outside.
Have him disconnect and reconnect.
James says try disconnecting and reconnecting now.
Standard tech guy. He's going.
It's all echoing in.
Turn it off. Turn it on.
Oh,
Oh, he's good.
all right, we gotcha. Oh, I just hung up on her. She's sorry. Sorry, Gary, I didn't mean to hang up on you.
Is he talking? I don't know.
Gary, test whether you can talk and we can hear you.
I don't think we can hear him.
Gary, can you hear us? He can hear us, all right.
Good morning, Gary. Can't hear him though.
We can't hear you, Gary. He doesn't have a microphone, I think, on his, unless he's out.
I will not be able to hear his vote then.
Can you just call him?
Do we have Charlotte yet?
No.
No.
My speaker is up. Can you try talking, Gary? Technology is great when it works. Do the same thing you did last time.
He could be unmuted in Zoom, but still have his like speaker.
Do you have your speaker on your computer unmuted? You might have it unmuted on Zoom, but not on your device. Calling again. Hello. Do you want to just stay on the phone for the meeting and I'll put you on
You
speaker?
could dial one of those numbers.
He said you could, James says you could just dial one of the numbers and just be on phone. Unless you want to see our bright and shiny faces. Any of those numbers you can call in on?
Yes.
Okay.
Ron, you said you knew. How did you know?
Nothing, Charlotte.
Nice job with the minutes. But, when Brenda came on the other day, she started saying, I said, no, I know. She goes, I'll tell you something. I said, no, I already know.
Oh yeah, she came over for
Yes.
Mother's Day to visit my mother-in-law.
And you were very good. You didn't partake in the wine episode.
No, they exchanged bottles of wine for Mother's Day. My mother-in-law and his wife.
Having no idea that I grew up with the people that own Mattis Winery.
I had a friend that's always done it, she was.
I'm texting
Because we
Charlotte.
went, we all had drinks one night after for something,
Mhm.
and she said something about she was gonna have club soda or something, we all kind of looked at her like she was nuts.
They say drinking to excess is bad, but the occasional like wine glass, whatever.
Not, yeah,
It's-
yeah.
Luke,
Yeah,
there are no public participation questions.
okay, thank you. I didn't think there was probably, but you never know.
Is that Charlotte?
Yep. Charlotte's.
Yay!
Charlotte's showing up on the screen.
Okay,
Here,
we're
you
good.
out there?
There she is.
All right, there she is. Hey Charlotte, how are you?
She's muted.
Yeah. she's muted.
You've got a crowd there. I mean,
Hi,
not you,
Charlotte.
but
I'm here too.
yeah, in the conference room, boy, you're packed in there.
We still, Gary still out there? Can't hear Gary.
Good, Gary.
And is the phone number
Yes.
connected with the conference room or not? Or is
Hello?
this is someone else?
Here he is. Hey, Gary, we got you.
Morning, Gary.
Okay. Good morning.
All right, we got everybody. I think. You guys ready to start? Give it a go.
We're ready.
All right, well, we'll call the meeting to order. And Ron, I'll let you lead us in the pledge this morning, and then we'll have a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the
of the
flag
United States of
of the
America,
United States of America,
to the republic
to the
for
republic
which it
for which
stands,
it stands,
one nation, under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Not a choir.
All right. We can go ahead and agenda. We'll have roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett,
Here.
Mr. Fowler,
present.
Ms. Owens,
Here.
Ms. Pierce,
Here.
Mr. Steven.
Here. Next item on our agenda is dealing with approval of the agenda and then approval of minutes from April the 28th. Everyone should have received an addendum agenda. I would add items that are on that addendum to the current this new business agenda. Those items include 9A, 12A, 18A, and 19. I would also recommend that we pull number 17. That deals with the salary increase for the superintendent, and move that to the end of the agenda before reports, which would be additional items as needed. The reason for that is to make sure that we have taken care of language to amend a previous resolution that dealt with Marie's salary prior to today. So we're just trying to amend that, but if we do it as a separate item, then it should show up as a separate vote and clarify what the intentions are. So those would be the recommendations on the agenda. And then the minutes would need a motion and a second. Go from there.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Fowler, second by Ms. Pierce. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Ms. Pierce,
Yes.
Mr. Steven.
Yes. Next item is public participation. We don't have any requests this morning. Anyone that's listening in, we wish you the best this morning. This is our business meeting, and we will continue to move forward. Item number 5 is the financial report. Need a motion and a second to approve, and then we can have discussion.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Pierce,
Second, Gary.
seconded by Mr. Bartlett. Laura, anything you want to point out, please?
Everything's going well in the treasurer's office. We've spent quite a bit of time over the past week doing all these contracts that you have 5 pages in your agenda. That's been our sole focus. In regards to finances, I do want to make sure that you're all aware, and you probably are if you have investments, that interest rates have plummeted. We typically receive $4,000 or more per month on our Chase bank account and Star Ohio account together. In this past month of April, we only received about $2,000. I'm working on a few different ideas that of course will get approved by the board and signed off on by Lou, because he's the other signer on the accounts, about moving some of the money out of Chase, because that account the interest rate has dropped to almost zero. It's projected that by the end of July, even Star Ohio will be close to zero as well. So I wanted you to all be aware of that. This past 2 years, since I've changed the accounts, we've earned approximately $50,000 a year on this account. So that's a significant loss in central office. So we're looking into some things to try and gain some of that money back. But the outlook on the economy right now is that it could take 5 to 8 years for the interest rates to bounce back. So that's just maybe the way things are for a little while. So I guess we enjoyed it while it lasted. Otherwise, you'll see in the June agenda, I'll have the final appropriation adjustments. The ones on this month were just to adjust to get us through the month. And then next month, you'll see, I'll be able to show you the original appropriations and the final and the difference and how we did on that. And I hope to also have an initial appropriations for FY21 as well. So it's going to be a busy month here in the treasurer's office for the foreseeable future. And it's always our busiest time of year. Do I have any questions on any of the financials presented in the motion?
I can just say from being on a credit union board, I mean, we've had 2 credit union board meetings, and the interest rate thing with banks and credit unions, no matter where you shop, there's a few that because of investments they have in something that's right now doing really well because it's stuff that's needed for the pandemic, plexiglass, for example.
Right.
The banks and so on that have investments in that are able to stabilize their interest a little bit, but the Feds is going to push on it because they're going to try to push to put in the fund that we had from back in 2008 to keep funding that so that nobody's going under.
Yeah.
So yeah, I sympathize if that's what when you make income like that, it's just like anybody else who's got money invested in 401s and everything else.
Yeah.
That's what they're using as their income. It's going to go to triple to nothing.
Yeah.
We've not been using that to pay our central
But
office
it's a nice
budget.
pocket to have.
That's been building up helping to build up our reserve.
Right.
Because 6 years ago, we had no reserve.
Right.
There was
Yeah.
close to nothing here, and the money was not being invested well at all.
It was just a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
When I got our interest statement, it had $24 on it when normally it has over $2,000. So I was not happy with Chase because they didn't forewarn me, even though I should have known that the interest rates were going to plummet. We're just looking at some options to see where we can, because like I said, Star Ohio, which has always been a pretty decent bet, I've been told it'll be down to zero by July.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we just don't want to, it's been nice having that. I don't want to lose all of it, you know?
Other questions or comments in regards to the financial reports?
Remind me about the Striving Readers grant. Are we expecting, is there more payout to come? So that like when we're in the hole for 77,000 and encumbered 77,000, is that, are we expecting are we expecting more payments there?
Yeah, so the Striving Readers Grant is a reimbursement grant. So we encumber the whole amount and then pay it and request the money. Pay it, request the money. This grant through September 30th. And then it's actually the final of a 3-year grant, and I believe Marie is working on kind of a continuation. But yeah, that's why you see all that encumbered. Right now. It has to be encumbered before I get the bills, obviously. But yeah, it's just reimbursement.
Okay. And like when you're giving a lot of refunds for tuition, was that for the PBL or was that for other trainings you were having to cancel or?
So preschool tuition was adjusted beginning with the when the school shutdown happened for the first 3 weeks, that as the governor called it, extended spring break. Our superintendents waived the tuition during that time, which at that time it was $25 a day. And then when the governor shut down schools for the rest of the school year, Marie discussed it with the superintendents, and we reduced the peer tuition down from $25 a day to $10 a day. And
was aligned with Pickering.
right, which is aligned with what Pickering charges for their half-day program. And then we gave all of the typical families an option to either fully withdraw their child from the program or to accept the refund if they were due one, because most of the people had fully paid for the year. So yes, that was another busy week in this office. We issued about 79 refund checks, which is a record for my office. But that was for the preschool tuition and approved by the superintendents that participate in our preschool program.
Okay.
And you will actually see this in May, this week, I'm going to be doing a lot of refunds for the PBL Institute. We did give all of those people that had signed up for that institute the option to withdraw or stay in the institute that has moved to virtual, and Marie will talk about that more. But essentially everybody is due a refund because of the reduced rate that we're charging. So I do have a stack of refunds to issue on that as well, but you won't see that until starting this week. It's quite a bit of money because that's the, I think, what did reduce it from $7.99 to $5.99?
Yes, well, yes, the early bird was $7.99, the full was $8.10.
Yeah, so you'll see various amounts of refunds for that next month. You may have seen 2 or 3 on this month's.
Okay, any other additional questions regarding the financial reports? Hearing none, we'll go with roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Ms. Pierce,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is new business, and that includes the addendum items of 9A, 12A, 18A, and 19. And a reminder that we pulled number 17 to deal with after we go through the new business. I need a motion and a second, and then we can have comments and discussion on those items.
So moved, Gary.
Moved by Mr. Bartlett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Pierce. Marie, we'll let you start with the discussion, and then we can go to questions.
Okay, let's start talking about the PBL Works contract. So the initial contract that we had with PBL Works, if you recall, we were going to do the institute at Otterbein University face-to-face. The cost of that contract was much higher than virtual because it has to account for technology, food, facilities, the PBL Works folks coming in to do their piece, our staffing costs to manage that whole project, etc. So the initial contract was actually set up in such a way that we needed to pay to PBL Works a little over $100,000 as a deposit. And we knew when we signed that contract that we had the deadline of the 27th to cancel that contract and get 100% of our money back. And so we started heavy recruiting of registrants and advertising, and PBL Works did an awful lot in terms of the advertising. And we had about 150 people registered for the Institute. Well, with the closure, we were on the fence up until the last minute. Well, could we even offer a face-to-face conference? So there were three variables that led to us deciding to cancel that contract. One, Otterbein decided they wouldn't be open. So that's a problem. We now don't have a place. 2, PBL Works decided they weren't going to move forward with a face-to-face given all of the travel restrictions, etc. And then the third is we did a somewhat of a survey of the people who had registered to say, if it's face-to-face, would you even come anyway? And people were on the fence. So we decided to do the official notification to PBL Works to get our entire deposit back. We then started to negotiate with them a second contract, and we wanted this to be clean. We wanted that to be put to bed, the first contract, and then to enter a second contract. And so the second contract is for a virtual PBL Works Institute, and they have been working, PBL Works has worked for months to convert everything to a virtual format. And we agreed to adjust our cost to attend that virtual conference to $599. So it gave a discount that really reflected the fact we're not feeding them, we're not housing them, we're not dealing with parking, we're not dealing with the FTE we had to before, there's no bling. And so that was a fair reduction, and then communicated with all the people who were registered and said, who wants to stay in and who doesn't. And so we did have enough folks to fill 2 full virtual sessions of 35 apiece. So that's 70 people. We already have them confirmed. We have a wait list that is starting to potentially fill a third session. And if that gets filled, we will be able to add a session through PBL Works virtually. So in essence, the contract that you see here, it reflects the fact that PBL Works charges $11,500, here's $500 or $50 per session. We're charging $599 a registration, which brings in about $20,000 per session. So we're still making money off of this. But we did not commit to them for any sessions beyond what we knew we already had filled. So it's low risk, no risk. And the reason why we did that was because they weren't going to move on when the cancellation date was, and the cancellation date had occurred before we executed this contract. So went round in circles till we finally landed on what we thought was fair and reasonable. So I hope that explains those two PBL Works agreements and what actions are being taken. Any questions regarding those pieces?
So essentially, we're canceling one and approving the new one.
Yes. The next item I wanted to talk about for a minute it's number 8, regarding the stipends for Lindsay, Mindy Fari, Jill, and Dayton Regional STEM School. If you recall last year when we embarked on the PBL work, new line of work, we had honored the contract or the stipend, daily stipend amount that were being paid to those consultants that were brought with them from Central Ohio. With the understanding that Laura and I would be sitting down after a year, and this was an odd year because of all that went on with the school closure. But anyway, we would actually be looking at what was brought in, what were the actual costs, where are we at in terms of the market, what the market's willing to bear. And so we communicated with Dr. Dempsey and those consultants that based on the data that we had, we were reducing the daily rate from $600 for the consultant to $450. And they've all agreed to that. And honestly, if they don't want to do that, that's fine. We have other folks that we've trained in-house here as we did a train-the-trainer model this year. So we have 2 people in-house, Heidi Deo and Caitlin Wood, who are also trained to deliver this training. So that is going to enable us to make a little more money off of those sessions and actually bring it back in line with what we pay other consultants, which tends to be in the ballpark of $50 to $55 an hour. Now, understand they get no benefits. So they're paying, supporting themselves out of that. We just pay them the flat $450 a day. So that, that's one adjustment that's being made. The other adjustment that you're not going to see on here because it's not necessary for you to see, if you recall, we had stipends for Dr. Dempsey to do the PBL work sessions. We sat down with her regarding finances, and she will be getting no stipends moving forward for that work. So we've moved to, she's just going to get her base. We feel comfortable with that, and she understands why. Again, we wanted to use a data-driven approach to make sure that we were making a good business decision. So you don't see that action on here because we're not renewing those stipends. You're wondering why they're missing. Regarding Heidi Deo, the OTES training is a required training, and because of the school closure, what should have occurred within Heidi's regular days and hours ended up becoming a whole jumbled mess with ODE transitioning that training to online virtual, and anyway, we need to pay her for her additional time outside of her hours to become one of those trainers. The mentors, those are all standard. Our list of all the contracts, those are all standard. Our superintendents, after much discussion and debate, and I did a final survey to them to ascertain where they were all at with things. The districts are anywhere between, really most of them, 1% and 3.5% in terms of the increases this next year. They were willing to support a 1%, which is, I think, the minimum. And given our increase in our insurance rates, our staff are still going to get about 15% less than they were last year. But the 1%, I think, at least lets them know that they're still valued.
Say that again.
So that's where we fell out. The superintendent supported a 1% increase for staff.
What the 15% part? What was that?
The insurance costs increased 16% this year. And most of that's getting translated to staff, employees. If you recall on the last board agenda, we adjusted the co-pays and we adjusted emergency room fees and some other ways to try to help people to manage their own behavior in terms of their access to medical care, to try to help manage the costs. But at the end of the day, our insurance costs had gone up again this last year.
Yeah.
So
basically the 1% is kind of helping to offset the insurance.
yeah,
It's not
yes,
really a huge gain for anyone.
it is not a huge gain at all.
No.
But I think it also, to give, I think the superintendents, a lot of the conversation amongst the superintendents also was to give everyone else in the county something, and for our staff to get nothing when we already have lower, the gap widens every year because we always have a lower percentage increase and we always have had lower salary schedules, that they thought that was fair. At the same time, we are working diligently to manage staffing and looking at efficiencies internally. And of course, the June meeting will be a big meeting in terms of discussing whether schools are opening or not, and whether we need to make some decisions about riffing staff if we do not have justification for their roles in the fall, in particular support staff, paraprofessionals, but we're not there yet. We're all hoping that we will open back up to some extent. Does that make sense, Charlotte? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Marie?
That's really it. There's nothing else that's really remarkable. We've had a couple of resignations, that's why 18A is there. And regarding 19, we had a district that was interested in utilizing Teresa Nixon for next year, or is that not the?
They weren't able to respond in time.
Oh, so we're removing that.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I'm adding her as a non-renew because nobody picked up her.
Okay, they may, but for now, we need to non-renew her, we own her for next year.
Any
Okay.
questions on these items for Marie?
So, like all the non-renews were kind of, nothing unusual, just people that were, on an as-needed basis anyway, kind of?
Right. So we annually have meetings with the local districts because they do hires through us. And we walk through the process, essentially, do you need this person next year, do you not? And so that's one contract where we don't have a district or a need for her. She's rehired person, so we don't employ her unless we have a funding source for her.
Right, okay. And well, the others you had on 19, the ones that were non-renewed, they might, whether it's Gloria or, of course, Thomas Fry and Jennifer Hensley, they're just bringing their own contracts, that sort of thing.
Right.
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 Back on the, so is Will just giving up a few of his, too many hats, or?
Will has become the superintendent of Walnut Township local school district.
Okay, and that's his
She's all grown up.
And that's his only hat now, right?
Well, he'll have 80 hats once he's there, but yes.
Yeah,
technically.
but not through us anymore. Is that right?
No. At least he's still in the county.
Yeah, okay.
Can I mention a correction to the list of contracts on page 6 of 9? Well, it's now 6 of 10. The second one down, Heidi Deo. It should say 0.53 of 11 month, not 1 month.
Yeah.
My apologies.
She'd be a little surprised.
Yeah, 1 month won't make it.
Yeah.
No.
Any other additional questions? If not, I recommend that we go ahead and have roll call on these items.
Mr. Bartlett?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Stamen?
Yes. The next item on the agenda is additional items as needed. You may remember we took number 17 off. That was dealing with the 1% increase to Marie's contract. The reason for that, and we'll need Laura, your department, to go back and double check what the original resolution was, but the goal here is to amend that original resolution back when we dealt with both Marie and Laura's salaries and contracts for this current future year ahead. So this would be to amend that previous resolution to note that recommendation is for a 1% increase to Marie's contract for the 2021 school year. So I would need a approval of resolution followed by a second for that amendment.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Pierce. I'll second it
Second,
myself.
Gary.
Oh, Gary. Thank you, Gary.
Yeah.
Gary seconded it. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett,
Yeah,
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Ms. Pierce,
Yes.
Mr. Steeman.
Yes. Ron, thank you for pointing that out. So we got that cleaned up, and I want to make sure our minutes are reflecting exactly what we need to. Next item on the agenda is reports and information. We'll start with the superintendent's report.
All right. I sort of alluded to this already. I've already reported out in the PBL works and the changes taking place there. I hope you're looking at the newsletters. We will have another newsletter in June. But we have, been trying to keep those up and making sure communication, especially with our employees remote, that they feel like they're engaged and that they're getting the updates as need be. Some people are good at checking things. I did a survey on our Zoom call with our preschool staff and all of our K-12 staff. Do you read them? Do you open them? And it seems like a large number of them do. We've also gotten some positive feedbacks from superintendents and folks in districts. They like to know what we're doing. I think the one thing that it has, I think the one common message that I've gotten back from folks is, oh, you guys are doing a lot more than I thought. That's probably the most common comment that I've received. So I hope that you've enjoyed the new format and that seems to be resonating well with you. Rob Engel has taken over the production of those newsletters. Regarding planning for next year, this is an ongoing huge topic. We have on the 12th of June, the health department is attending our superintendent's meeting, and we are really looking at getting some guidance. We think that date is going to be a good date because we will have hit that 2-week mark beyond the opening up of Ohio to see what that data looks like. And I think it's going to be a huge indicator regarding what happens moving forward. I will say that right now we're essentially preparing for dual scenarios. One scenario being a blended model, which could easily flow to a fully open model. The other being a completely online virtual model, and continuing to work remote with kids. And that the prediction is that will continue to about January because of the talk that there should either be herd immunity or a vaccine or effective treatments at that point in time. The reason why we're going to continue with the parallel development of options for kids is the districts have done surveys to ascertain how parents are feeling about sending kids back. And we have a very split populace. You have some people who are like, please take my kids back. I need them to be out of my house.
They're done teaching.
They're done. We now have respect as educators. And I really do not feel we're going to have a huge influx of people wanting to homeschool. But there is the fear that virtual schools will become popular. And so we, as you know, we have had for 5 years a contract with Florida Virtual School, which has helped with all of we funded that through our Straight A Fund grant that we got 6 years ago. That contract is ending at the end of this month, and we were in the process of renegotiating another contract. They have, since our initial relationship, have developed a K-6 curriculum as well. So we folded that into our negotiations. We are working with our districts, and there seems to be interest in engaging Florida Virtual School in an agreement that would provide them latitude to offer parallel options for kids. So if a parent comes to them and says, hey, I'm not feeling comfortable about sending my kid back, instead of them going to another virtual like Connections Academy that's advertising all over the place, the school district in and of themselves can offer that option and keep that foundation payment that they get from the state. If there is an outflux of kids from the districts, it will devastate districts financially. So we are trying to work diligently at helping to support districts and having options should they choose to utilize those options with us. But right now, we simply don't know enough. And we're hoping on the 12th, we will be in a better place of making some informed decisions about where we're going. Does that make sense? Regarding kiddos with disabilities and our at-risk youth, they're the ones that I'm concerned about the most. From a special ed standpoint, we are also having conversations in the health department. Again, we'll inform this about, is there a safe way for us to develop a clinical model where kiddos can be brought in by their parents, sort of as a kind of a doctor's appointment to get their therapies, and we can keep things safe. To be honest, I'm actually thinking about this boardroom we're sitting in into becoming a temporary clinic, if need be, because we have the parking right out the back door. We can keep this sterile and safe. We can lock it up so people don't have access to it. And if need be, we can do that and hopefully serve kiddos well. We're also talking with the Board of Developmental Disabilities about potentially using space they have in a similar manner. But we first need to have the guidelines regarding what would be acceptable from a health department standpoint. So we're sort of processing all of this at the same time in the eventuality we may need it. And Laura has become the PPE ninja. She,
Me, James, and Courtney.
Yeah.
We're a little sanitizing team here.
So we've stockpiled stuff and we're in pretty good shape. We have face shields, we have gloves, we have masks, etc. And so one of the things that we are, and we have a thermometer came in. We are opening the office June 1. We're opening back up. Courtney's all set up with what she needs to do fingerprinting again, which is critical for schools to start. And we are looking at, with your support, you realize that we have for the last several years allowed people to have half days on Fridays for July. With the school closure, we're asking for this year if that would be reasonable for June as well, especially given so many employees who have childcare challenges, that might help them as well to manage that, to manage that challenge. They'll still work their full hours. They'll have to submit to the treasurer's office what their alternative schedule would be to work additional hours, use vacation, whatever it is, but to give them the latitude to, for June and July, to work a half day on Fridays. So I don't know how folks feel about that, whether that's something people are willing to support or not support. Though Courtney, it doesn't matter whether she has two little ones. I call her, text her, she responds immediately, wherever she's at. But do people have thoughts, feelings?
I just want to say something on your MRDT. A lady in Pickerington who lives in Pickerington Run who has a 33-year-old extremely child in the DD program.
Uh-huh.
She's lived in Delaware County, she's lived in Cuyahoga County, she's lived in Franklin County and here. She has never had the service that she has in Fairfield County.
Good.
She said, I try to tell them when I talk to them that I've been in 3 other counties with this 33-year-old. Her husband's, I think, military.
That's
And
good.
that's the reason they've had to move around some. But someone told her that I was on the board. She said, would you please express that to those people?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'll let John know. That's a great comment. Any thoughts or concerns
I'm
about that?
okay with June and July myself. I don't know.
Because we're not allowing public to come in unless it's by appointment anyway.
Yeah.
We're not gonna allow people to just come in the door, and you know we have our new safety equipment, thanks to James. That's all set up, and people buzz in now like they would any school building.
Personally, I think you're gonna need to be flexible with people. Things are not normal, obviously. And I don't think they're gonna get back to normal immediately. So, I mean, I advocate any ability that gets the work done with flexibility is probably the new norm for the short term, hopefully.
Yeah, ditto on that. I mean, we're gonna have to make allowances.
Yeah.
I honestly think people are working more hours than they ever have. I know I am.
I didn't know that was possible, but anyway. That
Yeah.
for you to work more hours than you ever worked before. I mean, considering what. Yeah.
Any other comments, Marie, or questions for Marie?
Does she need a motion on that or not?
I don't think so. We've never had a motion before. We just wanted to make sure that you were fine with it. If you'd like to have a motion, we can do that, since it's unusual.
I think it's standard operating procedure that you're using. I don't know that we need to do any resolution other than we consented to tomorrow.
Our central office has been open more than any district has.
Yeah.
I mean, we have remained open.
Yeah. We've been fully staffed here,
Yes.
whereas some districts, it's like maybe 3 or 4 hours a day. That's at the most. But we've made sure we're fully staffed here, for administrative support from 8 to 4 since the shutdown. Well, since after the extended spring break.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've done our best. Me, James, and Courtney probably hear the most.
Right.
To try and make sure that our staff is as supported as they need be. And you'll be seeing on the, if it's not already on there, the budgetary adjustments, where we may be saving money in mileage. We are spending quite a bit of money in postage. Our staff has been sending out packets to their kids, communicating, but Courtney luckily lives next door pretty much to the post office, so she's a frequent flyer over there.
All right, the next item on the agenda is Eastland Sheriff. Oh, I'm sorry, Charlotte.
Oh, sorry about that. What are you thinking about opening day? I mean, that is August 7th. Are you thinking Zoom at all as a possibility?
I don't know yet, Charlotte. I think that if we have face-to-face, we're gonna have to break people into subgroups and use a bigger room to be able to have training with staff. But right now, I don't know how we do our traditional opening day.
Well, the governor did approve receptions
receptions
for up to 300 people, but tables have to be 6 feet apart. I think it has to be plated meals, things like that. There's a lot of, unless the governor changes that, there'll just be a lot of hoops to jump through.
Yeah, I don't know yet. We'll know on the 12th because we're also gonna find out what the local districts are doing.
And we'll know more about the cases and such, the trend by.
Yes. I just think it's a little early. I'd hate to lose that event.
Yeah, I've already been in touch with the event space, and they understand that we can't make a decision about canceling it until closer to that date. I told her as soon as we knew, we would let them know.
Yeah.
But we've only put $100 deposit on that space, so I think we have to modify it within 1 month, so we have time.
But good question.
Okay, any others? All right, Eastland Fairfield, Ron, Mary, anything to bring up?
Well, our
Nothing
meeting
to
we had
report.
the meeting we had last week is we're gonna set a meeting for June the 4th to meet physically to discuss how we're going to go about the superintendent search. Because Bonnie will be leaving in December. And then the rest of the time was just talked about how they were gonna handle certification, which they did at both centers. And, that was pretty much all that was discussed.
Okay. Well, we'll go around if there's anything from anyone else. Ron, start with you. Anything?
Nothing.
You're good. Charlotte,
No,
Gary,
I'm good. Everybody stay healthy.
Mary?
Thank you.
Thank the person for the new format that you're doing the newsletter,
Oh, you like it?
that's very
Okay.
nice.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody's efforts in these unique times. I agree with Gary. Be safe, be careful. It's a different world. We now have a better appreciation of what our parents maybe went through with those through the wars, depressions. Definitely time. So I hope everyone can take care. I need a motion to adjourn, followed by a second.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bartlett,
Second?
second by Mr. Fowler. Further discussion, roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens.
Yes. Thank you all today.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lou.
Hey, Marie,
Yes?
I should have asked this before, it's, people can leave, but, how you doing on replacement, or you're still, or, of course, it's hard to know with, how many people are coming back in the fall, how you doing with replacing anybody you need to replace, like the school psychologist and all that?
We're early right now and people can resign up to July 10th, so that's always a sticky wicket. So the folks, we're already busy with interviews. We have an SLP we've made an offer to. I'm hoping I hear from her today. Young girl, little firecracker. She'll be good. And we're trying to create some efficiency. So we're really monitoring